Good morning to everyone. My name is Dr. Shonda Williams. I am Vice President, Community Manager for JP Morgan Chase. It is such an honor and a privilege to have you all here this morning. Let's give it up for Shannon. You are in an amazing space. This is one of only 15 community branches in the nation that was created by JP Morgan Chase. In 2018, our CEO, Jamie Dimon, committed to $30 billion to African American and Latinos across the nation. We have 150 community managers like myself, who our pillars are affordable home ownership, workforce development, financial health, and then also small business sustainability and scalability. We are here as a partner to West Philly as well as the city. We are not the saviors, but we are a part of a solution in this space where you are actually sitting. This is open every day for programming. It's open for community partners. So if you would like to utilize the space, you can feel free. Josue Figueroa, my partner, is here. He is our minority entrepreneur business consultant, and he will be presenting later on every third Wednesday of the month. We have small business master classes. He is a business coach, and so today you are sitting in only one of 15 rooms across the country. So you so we have our branch in the front. We have our community room in the back. There are 3 bathrooms. They are operable for you today. We will also have lunch when this is done. And so enjoy yourselves and have an amazing day.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming this morning. I'm very honored to be here. My name is Alana, Whitaker. Thank you so much, Shannon, for putting DiversiTech together and having these amazing programming and panels. This is day 3. I know y'all are still happy to be here. I am. A little bit about myself. My name is Alana Whitaker. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. I was an IC nurse for 13 years. I was able to retire from that, and I'm a weathering educator. I have 2 ed tech businesses, Digital Ringlet and Blue Collar Blockchain. My mission is to go into the community, educate women, children, and elderly how to onboard safely into this space. This type of technology.
Yes.
We can afford to miss out on this wave. If we could have been at the beginning of the internet, we would have been there. Well, where is that? So let's pay attention. And I'm here today with amazing co-panelists. Right to the side of me is Kuba Jacqueline. She is also Blacks in Technology, like myself. I'm Blacks in Technology Jacksonville. She's Blacks in Technology Philadelphia. Round of applause for that. Kuba is a software engineer at JP Morgan Chase. So who better to be here today? And in addition to being Philly, she's just an amazing woman, wonderful mother, 4 brothers. And then to the right of her, we have Ms. Diana Yamche Wilson. She is a founder and CEO of Black Sisters in STEM. That is an amazing organization where she goes into the community and gets this type of tech into people who look exactly like you in this room. Can't deny that. And then to the right of Yamche, we have Ashley Turner, who is the founder of Philly Tech Sisters, also went through Techstars. So round of applause for Philly. So our panel today is called Journey Beyond the First Tech Check. Women of color sharing their stories of success and impact. All of us sitting up here have been fortunate enough to get some form of funding inside of the space, and that's notoriously one of the hardest things to do. So we know the statistics about getting funding. When you're an entrepreneur, when you're a small business in this space, less than 1% of funding goes to people of color in the funding space, and even less goes to women. So to be a Black woman is a double hit. So I really want to get into some of these hard hitting questions for these amazing women. So the first question I have, I'm gonna start immediately to my right. Could you tell me what was your journey like from your first tech job to your current role?
Okay, so I've been in technology for the last 16 years. I'm a Philadelphia native, went to Drexel. And since then, from then in the beginning, what we see today as far as diversity is totally different. There's way more work to do, but it was even worse 16 years ago. So even being a student, I knew it was very quickly that I was like, sometimes I'm a female, and definitely the only black female. So, I felt out of place from the beginning. And then going to the workspace, I started off as QA testing. I did tons of things from software engineering, reverse engineering, data engineering, different things. But from the beginning, that's the first thing I noticed too. I was the only one. So I've always kind of had the head down approach, not being seen, kind of invisible. But as years went by, I kind of learned to grow out of that. And what brings me here today is that I've been, for the last maybe 6 years, 5 years, I've been volunteering in DE&I with the JP Morgan Chase. And then a couple years ago, decided to be involved with glass technology. So I've been doing things in and outside of work because my own experience, I would like to help other people and help to bridge that gap because that was like the hardest challenge for me. And just to show people that you're not alone and it's okay and then there's ways to move around it and get at it.
Absolutely. Young Chase, same question. What was your journey like from your first tech job to your current one?
Yeah, so my first tech job was working at Google, and I went into tech in a non-technical role. So I was a product marketing manager, and Google was my first ever tech company that I really even deeply understood. They had this program called Google Bold Immersion for sophomores in college, and it was a 1-week excursion to San Francisco, Mountain View, all of the things. We heard from executives, and that's what drew me into Google. They didn't just talk different. At that time, I had worked at PwC, McKinsey, JP Morgan, shut up. But they weren't, it was, the way Google was talking, it was so visionary for a company. And I was like, I would love to be in a space that speaks my speak, And so that was Google. And Google was also the place where I started piloting Black Sisters in STEM. And I wanted to be in a space that also understood and had goals for what I wanted to really do. Because I knew Google was a milestone. Like, it was not the end goal. And so at Google was one of our first partners. And after Google, after about 3 years at Google, I left and I started running Black Sisters in STEM full time. And so now I'm an education technology entrepreneur.
And it's going to be the same question, Ashley. So what was your journey like from your first tech role to now?
So, my background is actually in theater. I studied theater my whole life, went to school for it, and actually became an audio engineer for a local theater company here in Philadelphia. After finishing school, I got my first audio engineering job where I pretty much did the audio visual for theater companies in the region. But as soon as I got my first job in the real world, I kind of knew right away that I hated it. Theater is live, it's all day, it's every day. So I was working 60 to 80 hours a week for very little pay. And so I began to think about how could I use my transferable skills to transition out of theater into tech, because I was already clearly technically inclined. So I began to go to different coding workshops. I immersed myself into Philly's tech world, this very vast and boisterous community that we have here in Philly. And so, I just learned a lot. And eventually I got a role outside of theater doing audiovisual work for a college, a local college. And so I just continued to build my skills. But through my journey, as I was kind of immersing myself into the community and learning new skills, I always noticed that I was the only one. There weren't a lot of people that looked like me, and I didn't like that feeling of feeling marginalized. So I always had this vision of how could we create spaces like these where we're here learning from each other, making sure that we're getting the skills that we need. And so that's when I created the vision for Philly Tech Sisters, so that we can have a space where we don't feel marginalized, we can come together in our own communities and not have microaggressions or macroaggressions, and just kind of learn and build from each other. So right now, I'm in a tech adjacent role where I'm not an engineer or anything, but I'm a technical trainer. So I train people on how to use the different technologies that we support at the college. And even though I don't code every day, I feel that it's important for people to know the language, because I work with a team of people who are web developers, and I need to know the language in order to be able to speak question, I really leverage both my tech skills and my soft skills. Because honestly, you're not gonna be able to get too far without learning. So what I did is I knew that I always wanted to learn and grow in this industry once I made the transition. So I was always learning new things. And when you learn something, it's important that you figure out how to use that skill and how to teach it because you'll learn it more deeply. So I began to strategically volunteer. And I want to emphasize strategically because we don't want to just be doing work for free, right? We want to think about how it's going to impact you and how you can leverage your skill set that you're learning to get more money, right? So I began strategically volunteering for organizations, nonprofits in the industry, in the region here. Eventually, I started out organizing panels just like this and kind of helping people plan events. And eventually, when you work with a nonprofit, there's always a need. So there was a need for this company to have a website, so I built a website. There was a need for them to have social media, so I made graphics. So I used all my different skills in media and technology to help them learn and grow, and I made sure I added all those things to my portfolio, my resume, and when I talked to interviews with people, I was able to leverage my leadership skill set because I was a planner, and my hard tech skills where I build websites and graphics for companies. So you always want to think about how your story, what you're doing, can impact you, so you can use it to ask for more money and negotiate.
Two things you just touched on that are key for us, particularly in our community. Not only volunteering, that's that sweat equity. You don't necessarily get monetarily paid for something, but you're putting in your work somewhere and documenting it is the second thing. I highly recommend everybody get a LinkedIn, take pictures wherever you go, even if you're in an audience somewhere. Take a picture that you were here today, it shows it to you. So, same question, Angela. Can you share with us how you leverage your tech skills to transition into leadership?
Yeah, absolutely. And I really want to point to strategically volunteering. I think sometimes as a generation we have thought so much about money that we've lost the fact that most of the time you find your own purpose and your own next step in someone else's vision. So when you volunteer, not only are you learning tangible skill sets, you're learning leadership as well because you're watching a leader. You're seeing how they do things. You're seeing the things that you like that they do and things you don't like that they do. So now you can be a better leader. You can also be a better team player. You have both the horizontal view and the vertical view. And we take that for granted because they're not giving you a check. Meanwhile, the people who are giving you a check, how many skills are they actually giving you? How much exposure are they actually giving you? So I always push people to volunteer. It is a lost art. Of course, be strategic about it, but volunteer. Take the time after this conference to hit Philly Tech Sisters up, Black Sisters in STEM. I don't know if you got anything, but Black in Tech, yes. Baddies in Tech is in the room. Literally, volunteer. Volunteer. 10 hours out of the week, 5 hours out of the week. You are likely, everyone has literally told me, I have learned more under you as a 26-year-old entrepreneur than I'm learning in my corporate job that is over 26 years in operation.
It's true because when you're in a volunteer position and especially for a startup, like you said, you can build out an entire website. You're not going to get the opportunity to build a website if you want to chase the
No. And so, I was, of course, strategically volunteering for my own organization that I was building up. But of course, I was also strategically volunteering at Google. So you can still volunteer within corporate. I was technically a PMM, but Google had a lot of flexibility for PMMs going into product management and project management. I made friends with so many people in those areas. I was on projects with them. Honey, I was doing everything on graphic design. I was doing product management. I was doing project management. And if you really want to be a leader, it's going to require the agility to do multiple things and understand how to prioritize in every season. So we're in the season of our tech platform. And so many people come up to me. We have sponsors who are very technical, and they're like, wow, you are so technical, but you are, quote unquote, a non-technical founder. And then I was just like, yeah, because I took the time to strategically volunteer. And now I have skill sets that I never had the role for, but I have skill sets that I can flex and use.
The flex. Same question, but can you share with us how you leverage your skills to get a leadership position?
I want to first add that volunteer piece was powerful, because half of my opportunities I've gotten or exposure or anything is from volunteering, actually anything.
Same.
So, yeah, that was powerful. But I would like to say, tech skills. Technology in general, there's a problem statement, so there's always a solution that you're driving, right? You're always, whether it's like a fix, or you're replacing a system, or some kind of update, there's a problem statement, and there's a solution. So you're always in the mode of learning, and always in the mode of understanding your problem, you're always in the mode of finding the best solution. And that same way that you can apply that in your personal nonprofit or business is that you're there to fill some kind of gap or some need. So you have to understand the problem statement, what is the need, right? Understand the people that are impacted, whether it's users or whatever it is. So you have to understand what you're fulfilling. Use that same curiosity to debug things or find out what works, doesn't work. Sometimes you just have to just trial and error. So to me, I think that's where tech skills is used today in anything, whether it's your business, whether it's a small business, whether it is a nonprofit, whatever it may be.
Absolutely. And for myself, like, between both of my businesses, there's a nonprofit arm of one of my businesses. That allows me to be able to go into the community and do different things for them for free. But then I have a for-profit side of my contractors as well. And as far as technical skills, I identify as non-technical, but I would have to say I've been technical my entire career. IC nursing, I put a device in every single part of the human body on it. And just from that, you know that there's instructions. If you don't know how to do something, read the instructions. If you don't know how to do something, ask questions. If you don't know how to do something, you speak up and let someone know. That often says, oh, that's a leadership. They're more so looking for that than if you come in a room and posture yourself like, oh, I know everything, I know what I'm doing. That's not how you want to do these things, especially if you want to be a great team player. Building up your soft skills, I think, are technical skills. Great communication, punctuality, timeliness, documentation. If you maximize those things, you'll get goals far better.
I just want to quickly touch upon what Kula said, because it's really important, the problem solving skill set. We teach women how to code, and coding is great, but not everyone is going to need to know code for their daily jobs. However, and the other thing that people are worried about is will they be replaced by AI, right? Because AI can code. However, AI does a lot of things wrong. So you gotta know how to check it, right, in order for it to make sure that it's right. But secondly, going back to the problem solving skills, you will not be replaced by AI if you know how to problem solve. Because that is what you're doing. You're a web developer or you're, an engineer. You're more than just a coder. That's the basics of what you need to know. But really, what people hire you for is how to solve problems, how to think logically, and think of solutions. So I just wanted to make sure, right click on it, right?
And the other piece of that too, like let's get spiritual for a second. Don't worry about being replaced by your tech. When you think about the two words together, machine learning, the machine is learning. What is it learning? It's learning us. I'm gonna be frank, DiversiTech, we are a room full of minorities, we're full of children. They're programming with our swag, they're making AI rappers off of our culture, they're learning how to do things the way we do it to imitate our recipes. They can't replace us because they're programming based on it, so I just want to put that. So, next question. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced when starting your nonprofit or your entrepreneurial journey? We're going to go this way.
Okay, and I probably can speak to less on that because I'm a part of established nonprofit. But one of the biggest things, you know what? I take that back. I started it in Philadelphia. There was no Philadelphia chapter. So when I saw that, like I said, I'm always trying to figure out how can I help? What can I do to give back or to help bring diversity in technology? Because there's a lot of misconceptions. So I started researching and realized that they didn't have a presence in Philadelphia. So we've just been 2 years here, and so one of the things is, finding volunteers. I volunteer, work, I volunteer outside, and that's always the biggest challenge, is always finding money, volunteers, and people's time. Because at the end of the day, I know everybody has their everyday life to maintain, so you have to have that good balance. But that has been, always been a challenge, but, you find that 1, 2, 3 passionate people, work with what you have, and you can do amazing things with whatever you have, whether resources, money, people, but that was one of the challenges.
Absolutely. Yeah, so the nonprofit world is one of the most racist worlds that has not been blown up. And I personally think I'm going to blow it up. So I'm doing that. Everywhere you go, the nonprofit world is racist. So if you hear me doing that in New York, in San Francisco, in Accra, in Lagos, you will know why. Because the nonprofit world is literally maximum like 50 families who all have these huge foundations, who all have known each other since the 1960s before then, and all ask each other, who are you funding this year? And they fund the next person. And as you can imagine, the funders are mostly white. They're funding mostly white people. And then it's a cyclical cycle of them just funding white people. Then they ask those same organizations, give us referrals. And who are you referring? People in your network. And your network typically looks like you. So that's more white people. And so the philanthropic world has literally so little information on even the amount of diverse founders they support. They don't even report on that because they don't have to. No one's asked them for it. And so they're literally doing like 90, 80% white founders. And no one has said anything. When's the last time you heard an article on Wall Street Journal or Twitter about the philanthropic world being racist? Never.
Racist, no, but they have had stats come out on some organizations are volunteering to be more transparent with how they're funding their metrics. I only know these are out to see them at accreditation company. And the stats got worse last year, like even though it's split deeper into a recession, we got less funding as well. Less funding as well, and it should have gotten more attention after we were on.
Yeah. Even with all those commitments, it went down. And that's in the philanthropic world and in the VC-based world. And so as an educational technology nonprofit, a lot of people don't get us because they're like, do you want us to donate to you or do you want us to pay you? And I'm like, both. And so for me, the biggest thing is to really go into rooms and run it up. I'm not afraid to run it up because if I don't run it up, the next Black female nonprofit founder is going to have to deal with this same mess. And so I've luckily been able to be in certain rooms, and I have been able to say, how many other Black women are you supporting this? Ooh. Talk on it. And you, because there was no answer. And now I'm literally doing extra work, right? But it's extra work that I know is paving the path. And so I'm willing to do it. And so I'm like working with them to do commitments now. At least 10% has to go to Black women. Period. You cannot be a 300 million, 500 million, and less than 1% is going to Black women. Come on. And so the philanthropic world needs to do better, and I'm really just running that up. And because I'm running it up, I've luckily also been able to get a lot of funding. And so we just crossed the $1 million mark as a nonprofit. And this is my first, and I'm only 5 months in full time. And so thank you. And I'm really excited, not because I hit 7 figures, but because now the next Black woman should be able to hit 7 figures in a month. Not 5. Even 5 is too much, because when I'm looking at my white counterparts, they're getting a mill from one founder in January. They're at 30 mil already in this May. You understand? So there's still so much progress that needs to happen, but at least I'm happy that progress is happening.
They say the character of a person can be determined by who says you're running your value. So the fact that that is
very independent person. However, when you are running or starting a nonprofit, you cannot do it alone. You have to have a board for one, so you have to work with your board strategically, and two, going back to what Kumi said, you need to have a team. So it was very challenging for me to switch from being the doer. Like I said, I strategically volunteered and I got all of the things done. I'm a go-getter, overachiever, whatever you want to call it. But when you're the leader, when you're the president, the founder, you have to have the larger picture in mind, and you have to build out a team. You have to vet people, is what you're talking about, right? You have to make sure, because you can't do it all. You can't do all the day-to-day stuff because you have to do the phone calls asking for money. That is your job. Like in a college setting, the president is there to fundraise, right? So you can't do everything. So that's been a challenge to me with overcoming, being Miss Independent and leaning on other people, asking for help. That was a hurdle for me that I really came to realize was trying to run a business. So the other thing is, I just lost my train of thought. But when you become an entrepreneur, things can get very lonely. So the other thing that I had to do, because I also don't have a lot of entrepreneurs in my family, right? There's no one that I can really go talk to and say, hey, I came up on this situation, what do I do? And this, with this situation, because you're dealing with a lot of shaky people, a lot of people that, you just may not know the different scenarios that you'll be in. And so there's no, guidance necessarily. So I found a group of women business owners that we meet weekly, and they have been my support. You have to have support because there are going to be so many things that you don't know. There will be highs, lows, successes, and failures, and you have to be able to process those things with other people. So it's a group of Black women that we meet because we all have similar challenges, right, and opportunities, and we encourage each other, we hold each other accountable. So I felt like that was really important for me because, like I said, it was very lonely. We became an official business in 2020. So this has been a lonely process with us starting out being so isolated. And so I began to think, who can I lean on and talk to? I had a mentor for my career, someone who helped me grow in my own career journey. However, I did not have a business mentor. It is completely different if you're a business owner, you need a business mentor, you need a business coach, because they're completely different. So those are the things that I had to learn that I needed to know the challenges that I was facing. So I didn't.
And I just want to, if I can add to that business coach, there's a principle that states you wage war with wise counsel. And when you're doing something for Black women, people of color, you're literally waging war. Because this is not something small that we're going against. This is literally systemic. This is generations. This is centuries of impact, right? So you can't just come in it with a little strategy or without counselors, and better yet, wise counselors. And so I got in a business mentor who is not Black. Well, she is. She's South African, but she's like, she's not quite South African. So she's not identified as Black. But so she African, I guess. Love you. Just never go out to the world. So she literally pushes me to when I tell you exposure is crazy, she's literally like, why would you not put this? And I'm like, I never even thought about that. She has made me get paid for speaking engagements. I never thought to ask for that. She has made me get an executive assistant. I never thought I was at that point. She has made me say that I'm going to be speaking in Abu Dhabi and all these different places. And she was like, I'm putting your name on there because they know me. Having a business mentor who is well ahead of you, doors will open for you that you don't have to open. She literally said, the door is open. Do you want to go to Abu Dhabi? Do you want to go to Egypt? Do you want to go to Kenya? Do you want to go to Shanghai? I'm like, I haven't even been to some of these places. But now I'm going there to be paid. So, when you want to start a business, get a business mentor who is well ahead of me. When I look at her graphics, I tell my graphic designer I want it like this. When I look at her speaking engagements, her travel schedule, and how it's all funded, I ask her, how did you do it? When I see that all of her partners and sponsors only do minimum 3-year contracts with her, woo, guaranteed money. And they're so in love with her that they're like, we would do more than 3 years. But the structure in our system says we have to do 3 years max. And I'm like, you need someone who you want to be, who will hold your hand and drag you through something. And that is truly what she did. So business mentor.
I also just want to point out, because this is very important. This is the norm for non-people of color. Okay? So you may think like, oh, I never thought to get it. Yeah, you never thought, because none of us had that privilege. But this is very normal for other people, non-people of color, to just be like, you want to go to Egypt?
Argentina.
Yeah, I gotta go. You're going to be speaking, oh yeah, I'm going to be there, you're going to come with me. This is very normal, so I just want to say, you deserve this too. Go out and seek the week you deserve it.
If your mentor doesn't have a mentor, you need a mentor. So everyone sitting on the stage had who is a mentor, and we're all speaking on the importance of mentorship, because we have to seek counsel from somebody has to keep us on a compass in the right direction. And we don't have all the answers. We don't. Even in the way we all this new type of technology and surgery, but we are able to look forward to people who've done something similar. And we just talked about being the only earlier. Sometimes your mentor might not look like you just yet, and you're going to be the first person who will be a reflection of somebody. So if you're willing to carry that weight a little bit there. So ladies, as nonprofit leaders, how do you measure success for your organizations or your organization?
I would say the best way to measure success is one for membership growth, funding growth, impactful programs. So when you see that your membership base is growing and you're helping people and your money is funding things that's beneficial to people, that's successful in itself.
So I think that, of course, one way to measure success is sales, right? But with the nonprofits, it's really all those things that you just described: sales, your membership, and your impact. I think that it's just as important with sales and funding to create meaningful, impactful events, spaces for your members. You know, what am I trying to say? Space, something for them to latch on to, a space for them to feel like they belong there. I think that is very impactful. A space for them to feel heard. When people come up to me and they say, oh, you know what, after I attended your boot camp, I was able to get a job. Or, you know what, I was able to meet someone and they led me to something else that led to this result. I find that very fulfilling, and that lets me know that what we're doing is being impactful. So I've been reading this book, and I highly recommend it if you're a business owner, called Ready, Fire, Aim. It focuses on doing one thing really well, one thing at a time. And so I feel like once you get to that point where you're doing that one thing, that creates that impact, and that will help you create that measure of, sales. So that will help you focus on one thing, and that more than likely is sales. And so from there, that will help you create all of those spaces and that impact that you really want to focus on.
Yeah, for me, it's a mindset, because you only go as far as your mind will go, and you only go as far as you believe you will go, and you will only go as far as you can see. There is a close relationship between success and vision. And a lot of times, Black women's vision has been blurred by negative talk, negative speak, lack of exposure. And so for me, another thing that, as much as I run it up with foundations, I run it up with our women. I'm constantly always telling them the same thing. You are the moment someone's moment is waiting for. I will tell you that until you deep it, until you don't take your life as it's me and my house. Because there's probably, for each person, I really believe there's at least 20 people whose lives will be changed. At least. At least.
One of the quotes is that somebody's lesson may not take off until you step into your purpose.
And it's so true, and they always tell, and I always use myself as an example for them. I'm like, you're in this Zoom right now, you're in this meeting, but what if I didn't ever create Black Sisters in STEM? Where would you be in this? You wouldn't have this meeting. You wouldn't be in this meeting. And so my whole thing is a mindset. And because of that mindset, I boldly say with pride, and not with a pride that is like haughty, but a humility in the pride that I know Black Sisters in STEM will produce the next Nobel Peace Prize winners, the next unicorn founders, the next innovators and inventors, the next everything. And they're going to be at the table, they're going to be Black women, and you're going to be very surprised. And when you look on their LinkedIn, it's going to say Black Sisters in STEM. Because they're going to have a mindset trumps race, it trumps color, it trumps gender. And once you get to a mindset, even people have to follow your mindset. I notice that people engage with you at the level that you meet them at. So people tend to not engage with me as even a Black female founder anymore. I literally see sometimes some of these white men that I meet, they literally look at me as aspirational now. To them, they're like 60. And that's because I met them at a point of vision. And that vision alone made me aspirational to them. And so if we can create a culture and environment for Black women in Black Sisters in STEM that shifts a mindset, that's the biggest impact for me, because that mindset will take them everywhere.
And get spiritual one more time. No matter what you believe, like the difference, I'll take it first. The difference between somebody who just passed away and us who's sitting here in these rooms animated is whatever you want to call it, spirit, your soul, your body. When you're talking about vision and somebody seeing you for your vision, that's perceiving this body. This body is temporary. So can you elevate your mind to a space and say, I know what they said happened. I know historically in this franchise, there's race. Forget all that. Can you have a vision that supersedes whatever it is that's told you, and you can reach for something beyond that? When you get to that point, get that level, this is no longer a limitation for you, you're unstoppable. Period. So ladies, when you talk about time that your nonprofit or your business made a tangible impact on the community of service, we'll talk about you and after.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I started on the continent of Africa. And I started there because I realized, come on, Ghana in the house, Ghana in the house.
Sierra Leone to the house.
Oh, Sierra Leone in the house, okay. I know Nigeria's in the house. Come on, Nigeria's always in the house. But, so I started in Ghana. I'm from Ghana. But I didn't start because that's where I'm from. I started there because the new generation, most of them the population amount is going to be coming from Africa. And so I wanted to build a mind share there. And then we were able to start with 10 women in East Legon, which is in a part of Accra, Ghana, West Africa. And now we are in 18 countries on the continent of Africa. And all the way from South Africa, Ghana, Kenya, Nigeria, Morocco. And we're literally, unfortunately and unfortunately, a lot of them have gotten jobs, but not on the continent. So we're realizing that almost all of our earlier classes are not on the continent. Europe, America, et cetera, et cetera.
This is breathe in. We need to really think about outsourcing. Y'all wonder why inflation is so bad, about $8 a car. Literally, as American consumers, if we all look at our clothing tags, I doubt that it says anything. Right. So, I'm just going to wrap this up. But outsourcing, we have to fix that, not just with the talent pipeline, but additionally in how we produce things. We have to keep our dollar in our community. And then,
could actually see each other in person. It was the most beautiful thing to watch because I had planned all of these things that happened around them. But what I saw was that they could not get enough of each other. They wanted to sit and talk and connect with each other. It was this most impactful, meaningful space for them because they felt seen, heard, and belonged, like they belong. And that is important to me because in my journey, I have been in so many spaces where I forced myself to be in a space where I was the only because I needed the skill set. I needed the exposure. I needed the connection in order to get ahead. But this space where it was all melded in the room mostly, and these women just couldn't get enough of each other. They just wanted to connect. And so that was a really meaningful time and meaningful season. And so that was when I was the results of
Fellowship and community and real tangible impact. I have one final question.
And yeah, I went to that event, and it was very beautiful. I remember we couldn't get into I remember that. But I think being involved in general in Black technology, we have a membership of 22,000 and we're in 13, I think the membership is 13 countries. Also that includes South Africa, Alana, New Zealand, Nigeria. So it's just to see so many people on this, the same path, the same goals, trying to work together to bring or stop the divide of Blacks in technology. So I think that it's awesome. And even last year, I remember being to local event. We had tons of events last year, but I think the most that I felt that it was impactful. One of the things I've always come across, and I think maybe it's just my passion. A lot of people always want to know how to get into technology, right? And I think that's one of diversity. I think that is the best way to diversify technology because a lot of times people are not in technology because they don't want to. A lot of times they want to be exposed. And honestly, the way I picked my major in school, it was like English manual. I didn't know what I was going to pick because no one really tells you what it was. And that was like 10 years ago, right? So it's not that, because how many technologies back then, or even now that you see. So a lot of the youth do not know about it. So a lot of my work I like to do is within youth as well. So you have to start with my diversity, you have to start with the youth, give them that exposure. And two, I believe in for the ones that have already grown up, how do we get them into that space? Because it's not for a certain type of people. It's not for the geek. It's for anyone. So I did like a big series of events of different partnering with different organizations that helps people to bridge into technology, including one with JP Morgan Chase. We have this one, I've never heard of it yet. And here's my plug. It's called Emerging Tech Software Engineer Program. And they look for people that have 0 to 3 years experience, that are self-taught, that has done a boot camp. And we always have a series, like a cohort that starts every few months. And they're looking for diverse candidates. So do Google that, JP Morgan Chase, Etsy, Emerging Talent Software Engineer Program. And
Sorry. So the last question I'm going to ask, let's try to keep it 30 seconds. First, tell people where they can find you, but probably the question everyone is wanting to know for this panel. Can you share any specific strategies or resources that have been helpful for you in securing funding for your nonprofit business? How you get dollars, how you get money, and where?
Yes, I'm definitely going to plug my Black female brand coach, who is a Spelmanite. Her name is Jakita Owens. She is only a 6-figure grant writing coach. She helps people turn around from 10K to 100K minimum. And she has helped us do that. So that's what I would say for money. You can find me at down in chat, I think most things. But Black Sisters in STEM, you'll see me on there, you can still tag me and you can find me there too. So Black Sisters in STEM.
I would say for funding, look up accelerators and fellowships. They will teach you the business and they will give you money. So that is a great source of funding. Secondly, you can find us at phillytechsisters.org. phillytechsisters spelled with AS.org. We're on, sign up for our Slack channel. and find us on meetup.com. We're still pretty consistent
You can find me on LinkedIn under either Kumajango Best Technology Philadelphia, or also our website, and I may be wrong, bitphiladelphia.net, but I'm used to just cashing and just open my room, so I'm not sure top of my head. So, and funding, what's my funding?
Where can you find funding for your business?
Yeah, so we do a lot of like grassroots stuff, finding funding from like our boards to go to their employers and things like that, so I'm sure it's fun.
Alright, and you can find me on LinkedIn, I'm Alana Whitaker, or you can find me just Google as far as funding, I would say where I've got funding for my past events, reaching out to Microsoft with philanthropy specifically, that's one of the best places you can get funding, because they're looking for money to write off.
Oh, and just a hit on Microsoft, Daryl Booker is an ex-tech nonprofit founder, and he is about that action. He was actually supposed to be here, but couldn't come last minute. But look him up, Daryl, Darrell Booker. Microsoft, he heads up the whole philanthropy and nonprofit side of Microsoft.
Shout out to Daryl.
Lovely.
So, can you please
And
say
he's an Atlanta.
So one round of applause for these ladies. Thank you so much.
He's the